G'day and welcome back to the channel for part one of a new build series where I'm going to be building a Armattan Gecko 3-inch Shark Byte HD quad. That was terribly delivered, wasn't it? But it doesn't really matter because it's done now. So in this series I'm going to be going through the entire build process. What I have here so far to show you is the waterproofed electronics and what's going to go into the quad, minus one motor because that hasn't arrived yet, unfortunately, so I won't be doing the full build video in this video. But for now, let's have a good look at this frame and a look at the electronics. I will probably do, if people want to see, a dedicated video on how to waterproof the Shark Byte transmitters. The medium one that I've got here, well, half of the medium one I've got here, is probably more fiddly than the large one is too. So I'm going to turn this off. Than the small one is, which is a larger board, but yeah, less board space. But this is definitely a more fiddly job, and you've got to disconnect this little widget here from its counterpart over here, and it's actually a lot easier than it seems, and the instructions aren't too bad about getting it across, but maybe you know, some visual demonstration might be easier. I have to say it's a little surprising. You don't expect that to be a connector. I thought it would be another heatsink, the two heat sinks in the middle. Okay, so let's have a look at the parts that are going to go into this quad. First off, we're going to start with the frame. Oh, look at that. It's a sea salt lemon candy from Taiwan. Thanks, guys. I will munch on that in a little bit when I don't have to speak. So what comes in the pack here? So in the pack we can see there's a little bag of goodies down the bottom and the basic frame. So let's get into this. We got some fitting instructions. I'll take a picture of these and show you that. The frame. It's nice, the edges are nice. Okay. So I'm just going to lay this out now and we'll have a little look at all of it in a second. Okie dokie, what have we got here? So there's the frame, and it's the rear FC mount, the VTX mount, that's the front, and yeah, it's a nice little frame. That top plate, some not too sticky squishy to go on there. I might use my own squishy for that. The frame, so if I believe correct, that's a titanium frame. A couple of standoffs that are part of that camera mount. The camera, aluminium camera mount itself. Nice little strap. Should be about the right size. Some attending hardware. Might be a bit hard to see. Got the nylon screws. Got some longer screws and hardware there. And then here you've got some shorter hardware. And then some squishies to go under the arms. And that looks like an antenna holder of some kind. And probably a cross brace, but the standoff of some sort for a cross brace. If I look here, you can see those are the aluminium bits just here. That's the frame, that's the cross brace there, that must go between those two parts. So yeah, is there some extra hardware in here? I think there's some extra hardware in here too, but we'll discover that as we go through the build. So that's the frame. So now for the VTX, we've already kind of discussed, going with the Fat Shark system. That's the medium there, and that just needs to be reassembled and get updated. And the screen's gone black. And the FC and the ESC are a success, stable. I'll put that up below, I can't remember exactly which one it was. But basically it is the same one that's in the Cine Queen, because I needed to replace the VTX off, take the VTX and put it back into the Cine Queen. So I have that spare and that's going in there. And that's basically the parts. The camera, got the Foxeer Digi button. Oh, squish me sticker. That's the Foxeer digital one there. I'm going to have to remove those wires that come on that. And then the motors, I've got the two motors that survived the XJB 143 frame, a spare one, and they're 1408 4000 kV. Yeah, 4000 kV. So there's one more of those coming. It should be here early next week. Hopefully it's here on Monday, because I'm going to try to go up to Kempsey and catch up with an old mate. So that would be nice, and hopefully I can take this with me. But that is that. That is what's going to go in the quad. Now we have to talk a little bit about waterproofing. And this is going to probably require some photos. So let me just get set up to talk about that. Alright, so we'll get back and we'll put this frame at least somewhat basically together so the build can proceed in a moment. But for now, I just want to sort of touch on waterproofing. And just quickly, I want to remind you all that you have to be extremely careful when you are waterproofing and you have these pin setups. So if you look in the photo here, you can see that there is a small array of pins going from board to board, and they will come together and form a pair. Now, those pins are extremely easy to gump up, just like the USB or the little 4-pin plugs, or 5-pin plugs, the plugs that litter this thing. There's a lot of plugs on here. And plugs are your enemy when you're waterproofing. Not necessarily because they're susceptible to water ingress. I mean, think of the nature of a plug, it just naturally is. But more so that they are susceptible to being over waterproofed and no longer being a plug, more just a receptacle that looks like a plug. Now I've had this problem before. When I waterproofed this one, I had to take it apart and put it back together and use a circuit board cleaner to clean the pins up with a brush, and then repeatedly cycle the plug until it worked. And that is one way you can get by if you have that problem while you're waterproofing. If you're unaware of what a waterproof is, the gold standard, if you're in Australia, well, actually the gold standard would be a product called Corrosion X, but if you're in Australia, you're going to be running like $95 for a unit of that. I can't remember if that was a can or a litre or not, which is a big difference, I know. But it was pretty expensive. The second would be conformal coating. Conformal coating is very good at waterproofing. It's not as easy to apply as Corrosion X, I would say, is probably the main difference. And finally, the final option for waterproofing, if you've got something that's really difficult to pull apart. So the final option for waterproofing, and this will work, but is a lot more brittle than the other two methods listed, is circuit board lacquer. And that provides a hard lacquer over the electronics, and it can be cleaned up with this product here, so it is easy to use, but it's not the best way to do it. Now I think it's time to build the frame. So thanks computer. So let's put this frame together. So first things first. RCFM. Ah, okay. This back strut, this rear strut, is longer on the bottom than it is on the top. So the top plate is thinner and it fits into that distance there. Now, what I would recommend, a nice little trick, go to Officeworks, Bunnings or wherever and get yourself some of these. They're handy. Man, everything about this frame feels really nice. Like, it just feels high quality. Everything about it. So why did I go, well, two things I'll have a chat about while I'm doing this frame build. One, I miss my top-down camera. I really miss my top-down camera. So I am looking at a new camera. I'm looking at maybe a G50 or something like that, but that's a serious investment. And I'm gonna have to call in a couple of debts that I'm owed to help pay for it. But I want to be able to get really high quality top-down shots for you guys. All right, so frame time. Get me Danny's on this frame. If you're unaware, Danny's is Pommy slang, English slang for hands. Oh my gosh. They're so light, it feels like plastic. So this here has an indent just there, and it goes in, and that goes into that, with the arm of this in between. So it basically works out like, 1 second. So it goes on like that and that, and then use that to bring it all together. You're going to want to tighten that, but that's the basic build there. So from there, tell me if this helps. I hope this helps the shot. Boom. The actual work light, the kitchen light. So that goes in like that, and there is a slight bit of adjustment you can do to the position of that camera mounting. So that's one side, other side. And then with this one, get it, put it together, and you'll have to sort of bodge it there with your finger, and then get the driver in and do it up. Now I don't recommend that you do that super tight. I would just say for now keep that as is. And then it comes time to mount that onto the frame. So we have 2 bolts that come up from underneath. We have fingers that are not working. Come on, fingers. Do thy thing. Oh, don't fing me now. Okay, enough bad puns. Bad finger puns are not gonna get subs unless you've got a finger pun fetish. But I'm not sure I want to have like a fan following a finger pun fetish followers. That would be friggin' infuriating. I don't know, I was trying to rhyme. I'm talking crap. Right, so they are in there and they are tight. Camera mount is in there and it is tight. The rear posts are clamped. See? Oh, that's what that's for. For sure, this has something to do with this here and holding your wire in. Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a counterpart to that? There are 3 press fits. What's that about? A spare one, possibly? Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so these things that's not steel, go into here. So you get one of these, and yeah, so they've got a ribbed surface, and I'll get a photograph of the spare one probably at this point, now that I'm in editing, I imagine. Not in editing now, but I will get one in editing. So this has a ribbed surface which goes into, whoops, into the holes on here, like so. And then that mates up to the back top plate, and one of these short screws. Short screws? Is that what it wants? Is it one of the short screws? Number 2. Is it 3x6? No. What? Yes. What? Ah, short screws are for the top plate. Okay. So then you take one of the same screws for the standoffs and another buddy and chuck them in. Alright, so that's where the antenna is going to go out the back. I've got a, oh, that's one part I didn't discuss. I've got a micro crossfire antenna, and so that'll probably go out the back and go across, or it might come out and go across the back here, and the VTX will go up here. And the VTX is a pagoda, but for the meantime, while I'm doing all my testing, and it's super important that you do this too, is have one around, even if it's just a linear dipole, to put it in there, because if you turn this on without its antenna, you're going to screw it up. I don't know if it's smart enough to, you know it's got an antenna in or not. Probably not, and you just don't want to risk it. That's 150 Aussie dollars. So this is a spare part, this bit here, and we'll put that in a spares bag to go into the spares kit. That it? Oh, you can have more. I guess this saves on weight. Personally, I'd rather use. Personally, I think it would be a much better affair to use that instead of that to keep the top plate in. I can definitely understand it with the front, because you're going to end up with a lot of. You see here. Sits underneath instead of sticking above, but I don't know, it's a pretty solid frame. It feels really, really nice, feels solid as. So we've got a spare small screw and a spare large screw. So basically, whenever I have a build, part of the spares kit is bags with a couple of things in it like that. And each of my quads has its own little sort of cluster of stuff. And basically, that's the frame. Okay, so now that we've done the frame, let's have a look at the mocking up. So I've got my crucial bits here. You can ignore the broken antenna on this because it's broken and just there, so I didn't gump it up. But that's the receiver there, and I've mounted the Shark Byte transmitter. As you can see there, it's on some white standoffs, and they're just cut out of PTFE tube, so just like bits of stuff like that. Beep. And that's gone in fairly nicely. I think I'm going to have to run an antenna reverse and the cable this way. And I've been on here and had a double check. It's the ESC has the latest firmware. The FC now has the latest firmware. And is calibrated.
and that's ready to go in there. But this takes 2mm mounting hardware, and that's this mounting hardware here. And this mounting hardware, give me 1 second, it's too long, they're too tall, so they're going to have to get trimmed down.
Alrighty, so here we are. I actually rethought that last little bit about cutting those screws, and I am going to use some different screws instead. We'll get to that in a moment. And I'm just trying to try out this GoPro as the top-down camera for now. I hope it works out. One thing I wanted to sort of cover, this is really, really nicely built. This top plate isn't even screwed on. Look at that. Look at that. It's like a perfect fit. So nice. This is some sort of contraption up here. That's beautiful. All right, anyway, put that aside. So what I wanted to quickly show you, you can see here, there is just enough screw going through there now to make it. But I know I said I was going to talk about the any sort of 3D printed accessories, but I'm going to be putting on here a TPU 20x20 Crossfire radio receiver holder mount. So yeah, that's going to go on there, and I'm going to have to use some extra long screws out of here, which are, sorry that was noisy, I believe these ones. And as you can see, they will provide me the extra height I need. They can stand there now for holding it. I'm also going to be adding some squishies under here, which I have gotten out and put aside to add some shock absorption to the mounting for the Shark Byte. So that mock-up isn't what I would call a full mock-up. It is enough to know that the parts you got are enough to go ahead. So I want to point out here that in my case, I've got 2 older motors and 2 new motors, and that these have, of course, different length wires on them. And if you are doing this kind of thing, you want to, of course, these are going to reach, you know, to the end of the antenna if I want them to. But these ones are just going to make it. So you're better off probably making sure you know that all your motors and diatone, this is a beautiful length of cable, because I can actually, the cutoff is a usable length for something else. And it's nice wire, it's nice silicon coated wire. Anyway, I just wanted to sort of touch on that to sort of, you know, in case you are, you know, using secondhand motors and you've cut them real short, because I had a habit, I still do, of folding the wires back over and underneath the ESC to give me that extra so I can work on the ESC. It's a bit easier. In this case, on this build, I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go for as clean as possible, which means a very short cut for the back motors and a much longer cut for the front. But c'est la vie, not much to be done. So now I have to decide if I want to cut here and wrap up this video at about 20 minutes, or if I want to cover the some of the soldering up or leave it for the next video. Because all there is left to do for the next video is to mount the motors and solder them on and mount them, and then I've got to connect the the flight controller to the Shark Byte and to the receiver, which will be on top of it, and solder all those wires on, mount all of that stuff, put in the shim for the camera mount,
And then, if I've not forgotten anything, 3D parts for mounting the antenna and the like. That should be that. And then it's testing and test flying and so on and so forth. Alright, so two final things with the mock-up. Firstly, I can't find myself a shorter cable at the moment on the internet, so yeah, that's annoying. I will keep searching, but for now I think I'm just going to have to use that 12cm one. Also, because of the magic of editing, we now have not one but two, not two but three, but not three but four motors, which is all the required motors for a quadcopter, funnily enough. So we have all the motors, they've come in, and a little bit of time's gone by as life has interceded with things. However, here we are, and after thinking about, of course you may have already noticed the motor thing, there was one final thing I do need to cover here. So where the antenna mount meets the frame, there is a note about, oddly termed, breaking the edge here to ensure that it doesn't cut into your antenna line. And so, if you're going to do that, I would suggest you do not do it above your quad. Do not. You'll just put stuff all over your quad. But basically, you're just going to get yourself a file. These aren't the best files in the world for this, but if it's all you got, just be gentle. Where are the diamond files? What it was doing out there, I have not got a clue. Alright, so I'm just going to go and very gently do this, and I'm going to go do it under some water. It's pretty straightforward, literally turn tap on, little quick scrapes with this, and that'll be that. Alright, so the only way I'm going to be able to get any high resolution image to show you this is with a photograph. So as you can see, this side is the bottom side. How do I keep track of that? Because when you put in the screws, they make marks. And so there's an extra big ring around the holes where the screws went. So this is the bottom side, and here I've just been like, yep, that's my impression of filing. And on this side, as you can see, it's a lot harder, a lot sharper. Right, so that was just what I wanted to point out. It's a very high quality frame, it's really nice. I think I've made the decision that I'm going to save the soldering up and testing for the next video, so stay tuned for that, because this one will just blow out, be way too long if I put it in here. It'll be here for at least another half an hour. That's all. Till then, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the follow-up coming very soon, and please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll get told by YouTube. Rock on, be safe.
What you said. Good girl, come on. Good girl, get it. It's just there. You can get it. Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, you got it now. That's a girl. Good girl. Good girl.